Good morning guys and welcome back to another episode of the D2 Talks. I have some great news about the D2 conference. We have finally launched last week. To our surprise, when we opened up the early bird tickets, we made this bet where we said, let's see how many hardcore fans we have that are willing to buy a ticket without knowing who the speakers are going to be. We say to ourselves, okay, let's give us a couple of days kind of deadline and then we will see what happens. The tickets got sold in like 23 minutes. I think that the last person logged in 23 minutes since the opening of the ticket, and the last purchase was done within 30 minutes. I'm extremely happy and extremely thankful for all the good and positive feedback about the D2 conference. The other 30 early bird tickets that we put online got sold within a couple of hours. Now the full price tickets are already on sales, and even there it's going fast. Anyway, enough of that stuff. Today I have the pleasure to have on the show Victor Bonafonte Morales of Beauty and the Beat. Victor and I met a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, at the D2 conference, probably the very first D2 conference that we did. He came as a speaker, we had a fantastic time. Victor is a very motivating and very inspirational person, put it that way. And I've had the chance to interview him and make this video for you guys to enjoy. Anyway, as always, enough of me blah 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 blah. Enjoy this talk and I'll see you in Vienna. Victor, very nice to see you, man.
Hey there, Fabio. Long time, man.
How is everything?
Really, fine. You know, working hard as always, but really happy. Cold day in Madrid.
Yeah, well, cold day. What's the temperature now in Madrid?
No, right now it's really cold. It's
Really?
kind of a continental weather. So right now we're like 5 degrees or something like that.
Really
It's
cold.
really cold.
No, here I was complaining. Today we have like 21 degrees.
Oh man, you're such a nice person.
Victor, I don't think you need an introduction. You are the founder of Beauty and the Beat. Who doesn't know Beauty and the Beat? Hold on, I'm putting an image of your work on the screen so that people can see it. I'm a big fan of your work. I always told you since day
man.
one when I invited you to the D2 conference. And I don't know, I think that back then when we started to chat, you just started your company, right?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, it was, to be honest, I think in D2 was the first place in when I made a lecture firstly in my life
really?
about this regards. Yeah, man, I remember it as a really nice and kick-ass experience. And you guys, yeah. I mean, there's something special that even, and yeah, it was the first time. And at that time, I was starting Beauty and the Beat. I mean, it was like 1 year old or something, or maybe not so much. So yeah,
I remember that like you started to get a lot of clients very quickly. I mean, a lot of people were coming to you for your work.
Yeah,
it was actually very, very fast.
Yeah, it was kind of strange because honestly, I didn't expect that. I think that that well, I'm an architect, and I would say like 90% of people here in Beauty and the Beat. And I think in Spain things weren't well for architects like 7 years ago. So I decided to change my day-to-day job, which was like designing buildings. So eventually I ran out of job and I decided to found Beauty and the Beat.
Yeah.
So the thing is like I started doing like kind of a portfolio, and just I said to my wife, okay, I'm going to give this an opportunity. So I will make a portfolio in like 1 year or something like that. I will create some images or concepts or things that I'm thinking of, and let's see what happens. So eventually I started to post those works that weren't non-commercial works mainly, and I started to post them in forums and little communities, and eventually a first client approached us, a small studio, but they are still clients of us and we love them. And from that point, like in 2 weeks time, like a bigger studio appeared in our on our road and our path, and from that day to actual day.
But
most likely.
did you learn everything by yourself? I think you did like some sort of workshop in the very beginning, right?
Yes, but honestly, I mean, I did. Obviously, I when I was working as an architect, I think I started to be interested in 3D programs when nobody in my office did, because they were like old school architects, but really, this kind of architects with the scarf, this kind of, that look over the shoulder and this kind of stuff. So the thing is that I was always interested in like the visual part of architecture. So I started to get interested in programs like SketchUp and this kind of stuff. And all the people rant about the SketchUp. I had to say I owe something to SketchUp, because at least it wake something inside of me of interest for this world. So yeah, I made a little workshop, but it wasn't a master or something like that. It's one of the best academies here of 3D in Madrid. And I made like a express workshop. It was one summer, and it was like 1 month and a half, something like that. And after that, I made some online courses, but nothing like a master, of info, of art, or of art piece or something like that.
Yeah.
And I learned everything I know from the scratch, and watching tutorials and being like curious about things. And I keep on being curious. It's really important in this profession.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's always evolving. It's something
Yeah,
that you cannot refuse to be curious about it. And I think that this is very often the wrong attitude to go, when people say, oh, I don't believe this is going to work, or I don't believe, yeah, of course, things cannot work, but you should know after you try them. You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like the main problem for me is like if you are not curious, you don't want to experiment other things, you're taking a big risk into boredom, into making the same thing day by day and day after day, and eventually will come a point in which you will say, okay, it's enough for me. I quit this. I'm going to reject this. And that is why we always try to get ourselves into new things. And that doesn't necessarily has to be linked to new technologies or yes, I don't know. I mean, it's like to be curious, to try to add value to what you do day by day, and try to reinvent yourself, and have a lot of how we would say self-criticism.
Yeah.
It's really important to be really critic with what you do, and to be aware that maybe what you did 5 years ago, that first time I was in Vienna, right now I see those images and I say, oh my, it's a big crap, no? But that's okay. It's part of the process. You're growing as an artist. You're growing as a professional. So obviously that's normal. That comes with the package.
I can tell you that sometimes I still look at your old images and I'm like, I wish I was that good.
No, not at all. I mean, they weren't as good. But I think also it's like discovering day by day which is your style, and this is also important, because obviously when you start, you are like you have your idols, or your the path that you would like to follow. It's like when you listen to music, you love whatever it is, no? So and it comes a time in which you are a little bit more mature, artistically speaking, and it's like, okay, this is the way I want to follow, and you need to stick to that. Yeah. And sometimes companies, I mean architectural companies, firms, they don't understand that, and it's your duty to let them know. I mean, because maybe they are hiring you to get a look that is different from what you do, and it's like, guys, we are Beauty and the Beat. We do this. This is our style. This is our visual language. So please don't make me be like this other studio that, for example, we admire, but that is not our path. Yeah. That's not our way. So,
well, I think it's also because very often, the studios that hire you to do some work, they lack the understanding of what you guys are doing. Like, they're not interested. They simply say, They do renders. We go to those guys because they do renders. It's a little bit like when people look for a service on the yellow pages.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, there's a funny story. We were working with one studio. I cannot tell the name, but I was talking with the middle guy, and it was like he was talking to somebody in the office, and he was supposed, I guess, to put the hand on the phone not to hear him or whatever, but he didn't. It was like, yeah, I'm talking with the render guys, and it was like, I mean, it's a little bit more complex that the render guys. I mean, or at least I want to think about it, because I mean, we are not the kind of hope you like it guys. That it's like an internal joke here in Vietnam, the hope you like it thing. It's like there's something more deeper in what we want to do that only be the render guys. And yeah, I assume that sometimes, or a lot of times, clients or architects say they don't know what they're hiring. And it's a part of the problem, because if you don't know what you're hiring, which kind of professionals you're talking with, it's a bad start in a certain way.
No, you're totally right. I'm 100% with you, and I am glad that you're actually saying this, because very often, when I talk to other artists, I think that one of the issues is that artists tend to push themselves down because there is a little bit of pragmatism around the whole topic. Like, if you're an artist, you're helping a client. Fair enough. For sure, I'm 100% with you. But also the client needs to understand what they are looking at, or what can they expect from you. Of course, it takes a little bit of time for the artist to build that kind of reputation. Like, for instance, I think about your work. We were discussing it a couple of moments ago. You guys are fantastic storytellers, but not like the banal stories. You use composition, narrative. There are elements in the picture that make you understand, more or less what you're looking at relatively easy, which is great eventually for the main public, because, you're visualizing not for architects alone, but also for people that will have to look at the image and understand what they are looking at. And I think that, you got to the point where I would actually feel embarrassed as an architect to contact you and not knowing the work that you guys do, because I think that it serves a very good purpose, and you have made a mark in that case. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think part of the problem is that so most of the times, or a high ratio of times, architects are looking for something safe. So the thing is like, it's like an image is dissected into a PDF, and that is not possible for us. It's like it doesn't work that way. I mean, you can't expect, it's not a result of A plus B plus C gives a good image. It's not as simple as, okay, let's put environment, let's put activities and people, let's put color, and then you have a good image and a good story. No, it doesn't work that way. It's something like, first of all, let's find a good concept in what you're trying to say with your building. What is the most photogenic side? What is the best story that we could tell without being cliche? And that is one thing that kicks my butt when it happens. It's like, okay, let's put some kids playing here, and yeah, but don't you think there's a better way to tell stories? It's like when you, for example, see a photograph of architecture, like Extra Solar or whichever it is, and you see the image, it's like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. And those same architects would say the same, this is fucking amazing. But then when they try to translate that into an art piece image, it loses all that, seriousness. It all becomes banal and all becomes cliche. And I think that's the way that it's our duty to educate in a certain way architects, because and I must say that it's not an easy task.
No,
We still do it day by day. doing our sketches and telling them, okay, guys, but don't you think this is a better image? Honestly, this is a better camera, a better lighting. There's more like a real perspective. There's like more mood, the contrast, the color contrast, the composition is better, works better. And I have to say that from time ago, it's starting to be productive for us. But that is because we show the client that difference. It's not just a question of let them know with an email. Okay, but we think that no, it's you have to see that. That is why we sketch a lot.
Yeah. Now this is beautiful. It is the first time since I started to do this kind of interviews that somebody talked about this topic in the way you are doing right now. I'm researching the topic of rendering and art together because I was having some conversations. You know, my personal YouTube videos, the ones that I do on my channel. I don't know if you've ever watched any of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a follower.
some of the sketches that I do, the comic stuff. But now I'm researching a topic about art and rendering. And actually, there are so many similarities between what we know as masterpieces of the Renaissance, for instance, with the work that some visualizers are doing nowadays with architecture. Like, for instance, the importance of making a beautiful rendering is because you want to communicate something that the person that has the idea is not really able to communicate. And actually, this is not the first time that it's happening. In the Renaissance, in Gothic times, what we see as pictures, what we see as sculptures, they were actually ideas commissioned by somebody, patroned by somebody, and that only the artist with his own sensibility and skills and everything could actually achieve. So, we tend to say very much nowadays, we are technicians, we help the client, but you're still making art.
I mean, the thing is like, I see it this way. It's like, okay, rendering. I don't like the word rendering, but yeah, there are renders. Okay, there's something that it's make based on calculations and stuff. But as far as I see it, is okay. This is a tool that is going to help me to develop what is inside my brain. And firstly, before telling this tool how to push this button or this other button, okay, that I'm going to learn, obviously, because there's a lot of knowledge nowadays everywhere. First of all, I have to know what you said about the Renaissance or Gothic artists or whatever, no? That obviously these guys knew about composition, knew about light, shadow, about how to put a good framing in their pictures. They knew about which colors blend or mix well together or didn't mix good to make another kind of sensation. And for me, there's like a brain part of the process that comes before that it's going to make your renderings look better. Obviously, the best your renderings are, the best your images are going to be. But I also believe that there's a part that is not technical, that is more interior part. I mean, it's like a more interior part of the process. And it's analyzing, because if you don't analyze things, you take the risk of making something technically at a high level, but without any value in terms of, storytelling or communicating yourself.
Yes, one thing that I want to ask you, now that you mention it, analyzing, I think that, analyzing comes out as a process better when you have a team of people with which you can bounce ideas off and research the topic.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, I remember there was a clear time when your team started to grow, that even the quality of your images started to get better. And I don't think this has necessarily to do with, being able to do more work, but I think it's because of this interaction with your colleagues, or am I wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you learn from everybody and from everything. That's what I was talking about, no, about never lose your curiosity. Why? Because some new artists can approach you and show you a new technique of or another point of view, or okay, and what if we put the camera like twisted 5 degrees and you see, oh man, that makes the difference.
Mhm.
Okay, so and obviously here in the studio we have really it's really different people, and each one of them, they have their own interest artistically speaking, but when it comes to us, we're always talking about these things, and we're like nurturing, we're feeding ourselves from this. That's the good thing. So obviously having a good team make your images better and better, because it's your good criterion plus the other good criterion, and it's never ending. So yeah, for sure, it's really important, the team.
How many people are you at the moment in the office?
Right now we are 7 people,
Okay, so
but
it's
we're having a new guy coming this month. So yeah, I mean, we're still a small company, but we prefer honestly to be this way. Uh, from the beginning, we thought that it's better to grow in our case in a really in a slow way, but control, because what we don't want to lose is the control over our production.
yes.
I know there's a lot of companies that have a lot of workers, and I always think to myself, it's how these guys manage to do this. I mean, for me, it gets me really crazy to manage like 7 guys.
Yeah.
So,
No, I
so
can
make it.
imagine, and then it becomes a managing job and not a an artist job. So
Yeah, I mean, in a certain way, it happened to me. I mean, I used to do much more images time ago that right now, because I have to take care of other parts of the business. But honestly, I keep on doing images and regularly all the
I
weeks.
remember you
But
told me when we met, you say, no, well, I have to do at least an image, and if I'm too busy or if I cannot think, I go to drink a beer, and then I come back, and then I I do the image again.
yeah, yeah, and honestly, it still happens that way, because for me, it's like the thing that feeds me in a certain way. If I don't do images, it's like I'm really grumpy and I'm fucked up, because I'm only like writing emails or making conversations. But I mean, at a certain point, you have to accept that if you're managing a business and at the same time you're an artist, it's going to be a conflict and at a certain point, but I try to at least keep things balanced in a certain way.
Dude, I now we're talking about it, and we're talking with each other. Sorry, and I remember listening to your voice when we met in person. I remember thinking you're one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Like,
That's
and I remember your conversations between you and Jason, talking all the time about Star Wars and
yeah,
and
yeah, sure.
all that stuff. It's good to know that there is a very kind, very human side to the beautiful work that you guys do. There is also this story that once you told me about. I guess we can share the name. Big,
Yes, yes, these nice
where
guys.
where you kind of had to step into the phone call with the office about some changes,
Hmm.
and then you tell the story
No, I think
because
it
it was
was,
really funny. I remember
yeah,
I was
it
laughing so
was,
much.
yeah, it was hilarious, because at that time we weren't a big company. I mean, we are not a big company nowadays, but at that time we were like 2 people, 3 people. It was like, I mean, and at that time we were collaborating with them in some projects, and it was one project that it was, I can't remember which project, but the thing is like, I had a phone call with them to review some things, and it was an open mic phone call, and I was talking with all the guys in the meeting room, and they were talking blah blah this way, this other way. We were discussing, and at a certain point, somebody was telling something, yeah, but what if we do this? And I was like arguing, yeah, but don't you think that this way that blah 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 blah? And the guy that was in charge of the conversation, yeah, okay, what Bjarke tried to say, and I said, oh, okay, so you're Bjarke, okay, nice to meet you guys. So it was like, but I mean, I think somebody asked me about this, about in an interview, whatever, about working with architects or with architects that are really famous or whatever. And honestly, I came to an age in which this kind of things doesn't impress me.
Yeah.
I mean, we are all humans. We're all
Yeah.
human beings, and there's nobody that it's like, so you were cool. In fact, I would prefer to meet a musician that I admire than an architect, and I'm an architect, But that's the thing. I mean, it was funny because obviously at that time we were thinking that, okay, man, maybe these guys think that we're a company of 20 people or something like that,
Yeah.
and we're two guys doing this image, But yeah, things happens.
I have a question. A couple of years ago, maybe, you did
Mhm.
like some sort of art course online for like matte painting or something?
Yeah, it was meta painting. It was with Anthony Efticari. I love this guy. This year he's going to be in the IMAG in Paris.
In
I was in
Paris, yes.
IMAG last year, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to be this one because we have a big project here in the office, and I don't know if it's going to fit. But yeah, I did a course with him, and I had to recommend this guy. He's an amazing professional. He works with Blizzard, and that's another thing. That's another important thing or advice if I would have to give some to somebody that is starting, is uh, not is to forget about XPs. I mean, forget about that when you do your work, and try to feed yourself or take inspiration from other places. Don't take images from this studio as references or whatever. Try to look for cinema from classical paintings, from matte paint or concept art, because for me it's much more interesting, and I can learn a lot of much more things from that than from taking a good render.
I am 100% with you, and I think that probably the biggest struggle that we have when really teaching people, because I've been a teacher and I still teach. I still do a lot of like teaching activities. I share a lot of information about how to use software. Is that people really don't understand that in a way, you kind of have to let go this idea of being a button clicker, and you have to start to think, okay, how would a painter deal with this? How would a photographer deal with this? Because the moment you start to open up your mind and understand that, you are not a button clicker, then you start asking yourself the right questions, Like
Yeah,
instead of saying, why does this image look bad? You start to ask, how can I improve the light? Because
yeah,
it's the light that will make the image better, not necessarily the image as a whole. But anyway, this is a conversation for probably another video. Uh,
yeah.
One thing that I would like to ask you, since you are such a good successful story, if you could give a very valuable piece of advice to somebody that wants to make fantastic images, despite the don't look at the software and all that kind of stuff, what would you tell them? Like, is there something that you have learned along the way that you really say, no, this is to me still the most important thing?
Well, if you want to do an awesome image, you can hire us, and we will try to do our best. No, jokes apart, I think the biggest piece of advice I could give to anyone that is starting would be like, don't take nothing for granted. I mean, don't think about recipes. Don't think about special button combinations. Don't think too much about that. I mean, firstly, I mean, it's like a never-ending formation in a certain way. It's like, and for example, I'm really clumsy with some 3D things, 3D related things, but even I'm so clumsy, I know how to do a good image. And maybe it's going to take me a little bit more time than some other guy that is more talented than me, I don't know, modeling or lighting or whatever it is, but I know really clear in my mind what I want to see at the end of the process. So, and that you get that with training. There's no other way. And training could be from, improving your rendering skills to watching more movies, to take screen captures of cameras in movies that you love, or see color palettes, or these things that make you in your normal life to be inspired or to be emotion in a certain way. These are the things. This is the fuel to be a better artist, not recipes. I mean,
I
it's
think
like
I think my biggest problem at the moment is that every time that I watch a movie, there are some times where I really stop my eyes on one frame, then the movie continues, and then I don't understand anything because I'm
and you're
thinking,
lost. Yeah, it happens to me also. I mean, but it's like kind of a professional deformation in a certain way.
it's
But
good to know
yes,
that I'm not the only one.
no, absolutely, man. And sometimes it's I'm really fucked up because it's like, man, I paid a lot for this movie, and right now I'm just in the credits still, But yeah, I mean, in the end, it's something like that. I mean, and also do like personal challenges. You have to challenge yourself in a daily basis. It's like that's, for example, why we did last year. We started doing what we call the image of the month. In the end, it wasn't the image of the month; it was image each 2 months or something like that, because we were really, really busy. But we made the effort in the studio to do at least some images during the year that had nothing to do with clients. It was something designed, executed internally in the studio with our only feedback. And for us was a really, really important exercise. It took time, it took extra effort, but in the end, the images look terrific for us, and you don't have those limitations that sometimes you have with actual clients. But in the end, it was like kind of a personal challenge to improve.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you. I tried to do it myself. About a year and a half ago, I started to make videos almost every day because my goal was to finally learn how to tell a story. And I always wanted to do this since 2009, I think. And I always delayed myself because I was like, I'm not interesting enough. And the problem there is that I was always focusing on what other people would think, without thinking of the fact that I should have focused on myself, because that's the person that I wanted to impress, myself.
Yeah, or to please
Yeah,
in a certain
exactly.
way.
So I think that what you just said resonate with me 100%, and I can only recommend anybody who is trying to improve to actually start doing. If you don't have a lot of work in front of you, just do the work, because you're not gonna learn by yourself sitting in front of a computer only watching Netflix.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is also, it's like being happy with all this process. I mean, you have to be happy with what you do. There's another story that happened to me this year in Portugal. I went to this Trojan horse.
Yeah, that's a beautiful event.
Yeah, it was great, man. And also we get together with some people from the industry, the little architects that were there, but I mean architect companies, but it was really fantastic. We enjoyed, and the thing was that I was doing like some personal stuff on my own to to have fun when I have the time, and so I applied to ILM. They were like some appliances days, and they made some, so they had the option to to deny your like appliance or not.
Application, yeah.
Application, sorry, application. And the thing was that in my case, they contact me. Okay, yeah, we want to see the
Really?
portfolio. Yeah, and I was laughing with the people in the studio because it was, man, I don't know what these guys want. And yeah, I showed them I don't have too many personal pieces, but I showed them, and it was curious because the guy, I told him, man, I'm not looking for a job here because I have my own business, but I just wanted to have your feedback as a professional because I admire what you do. I love your all your movies, and I love how you approach this thing. And since I was a kid, I love this, you know. And this guy told me like something like, okay, man, I think I'm not going to change your opinion because it's clear in your mind, but I only would like to say that if you in a future, wherever you would like to jump into this kind of work, somebody would be interested in your work. So for me, it was like super rewarding in the means that it was like, man, it's not for, it's like, okay, maybe I'm not doing so bad while I'm having fun doing it. That's the thing. So, I mean, if you have fun, if you are like stubborn and you feel in your guts and you go forward with it day by day, you're going to get something really nice in the end.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Vic, the only thing is that we are already above the 30 minutes mark. We are at 35 right now.
Okay, man.
So I guess we gotta call it the day because this is the deal, as always. I'm just gonna stop the recording for now. I just wanna thank you very much for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, no worries.
You know, people know where to find you, so it's no reason for me to say where they can find you. But I'm going to put a link inside the description when the video will come out. I wanna just take the time to thank you again for doing this. You can say goodbye to people. I'm going to stop the recording and then I'll say goodbye to you face to face, okay?
Okay, perfect, man. So, bye everybody.
Thanks a lot again, man.